Alright, what's happening, y'all? It's your boy Rico from Street Scores, and apparently Jeff Bezos and Jay-Z are both interested in buying the Washington Commanders. We got to dive into that whole situation because I'm hearing reports that they may even go in together, and if it's them two versus anybody else, it's literally over with. And we're going to break down why Jeff Bezos needs Jay-Z and why Jay-Z could potentially need Jeff Bezos, and why that pairing could actually be a really good idea. Also, Bryon Allen is set to make a bid as well. Remember, he made a bid for the Broncos, did not win. Maybe he'll up his offer for the Commanders. So of course we got to talk about how much the Commanders are worth, because they're definitely worth more than the Broncos. So if Bryon Allen wants to win that bid, he's gonna have to offer way more than what he offered for the Broncos. I also want to talk about a potential timeline of how long this process may take for us to go from Dan Snyder to our new owner. And of course there's going to be stadium implications as well. I mean, this is a very attractive team to buy. We're going to talk about the value of it, the market that it has, the control of a potential new stadium, the control of where, when, and how a new stadium is built. I can see why a lot of people are interested in this situation. But before we dive into all of that, make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit the bell next to the subscription button so you get notification immediately. And every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one, make sure you pull up every Sunday for every play-by-play live analysis and breakdown of every Commanders regular season game, and of course the postseason as well. I'm gonna keep speaking it into existence. Make sure y'all pull up this Sunday, the first game since Dan Snyder seems like he's actually going to sell the team for real. It's an all-black game for the fans and the players against the Vikings this Sunday, so make sure y'all pull up for that live stream, laugh and learn with me. And without further ado, let's get it. Alright, so just to let you know, when Dan Snyder bought the Washington Redskins in 1999, he bought it for $750 million. Now, even with all of the losing and mediocrity since he's owned the team and all of the chaos, all of the controversies, sexual misconduct, stealing money from the NFL, all kinds of stuff, somehow it is now worth $5.6 billion. According to Forbes, the Commanders are the 6th most valuable franchise in the entire NFL. We're definitely not the 6th best franchise since Dan Snyder's owned the team. We may not even be 6th from the bottom. If we're talking about Super Bowl appearances, playoff wins, since Dan Snyder's bought the team, we've been one of the worst teams in the NFL. But why is this team so valuable? Number one, the market. Washington, D.C. market is a superior market. It may not necessarily be New York or L.A., but as you can tell by the value of this team right now, the Washington, D.C. market is crazy. It seems to go forgotten at times, and it's a pretty underrated market, but Washington, D.C. is still at the very least top 6, probably even top 5. And also, this team is in the middle of a lot of things. I mean, if you become the new owner, or, you know, you split ownership with anybody else, either way, you have some say-so and some influence as to where this new stadium will be, how it will be built, how it will be designed, all of that type of stuff. So I'm assuming if Dan Snyder's selling the team, maybe all of those stadium plans that we've seen before just go out the window, plus the location in Virginia and all of that. Now, hopefully a new owner wouldn't move the team. I highly doubt that happens. I doubt they move the team. I also doubt, again, because the Washington, D.C. market is one of the most lucrative markets to even be based in. And for that to just be untapped, for you to just leave Baltimore to potentially take over the entire Maryland market, and then I don't even know if that would bleed into DC or Virginia. That's a whole untouched market. Why would you leave that to go somewhere else? I also highly doubt they changed the name, the logo, or anything at that point. But I mean, those are all not impossible, but I just highly doubt it. But either way, as a new owner, as a new part owner or whatever, you'll have somewhat of a say-so what's going on with this new stadium situation, and that's big time, man. I mean, not only are you buying the 6th most valuable franchise in the NFL, one of the most valuable franchises in all of football. We were literally number 1 for some years while we were winning Super Bowls, but a lot of losing. The furthest we've fallen down is now 6th place right now. But either way, man, this team not only being extremely valuable, almost $6 billion, worth almost an entire $1 billion Commanders more than the Broncos, who was just bought. And they've had far more recent success NFL-wise than us. And then again, to have input in what's going to happen with the new stadium, with the FedEx Field lease ending, that's a very attractive proposition. If I were an owner, I would personally, even with all of the losing from the Washington Commanders, even though granted we are on a 3-game win streak right now, this would have to be one of my top options out of all available teams, out of all recently available teams. Even if the Broncos are still available and most of these other NFL teams were available to be bought, the Commanders would have to be, if not the #1 candidate, at least one of the top 2 or 3. And now, before we dive into this whole Jay-Z and Jeff Bezos thing, and then later after that, Byron Allen, just an idea of how long this process could take. Remember, in December of 2017, Jerry Richardson announced that he was selling the Panthers. And I mean, Dan Snyder hasn't necessarily directly announced that he's selling the Commanders right now, but with that new FBI investigation that's going on, reported by ESPN and all of that, it looks like the statements he made yesterday was probably a declaration of like, we're about to sell the team. An indirect declaration of it. And so then December 2017 was when Jerry Richardson announced he was selling the Panthers. And then it took all the way to May 2018 for David Tepper to officially sign the purchase of the Carolina Panthers. And then it wasn't until July, 2 months later, that the deal was finalized. So once Jerry Richardson announced that he was going to sell the Panthers, it took about 7 months for the entire process, for it to be bought, everything to be finalized, and to go from one owner to the next. So, you know, we'll see how long this takes for us, but I will honestly think that this process moves a little bit quicker for us, because again, this Commanders team is a far more attractive purchase than even the Carolina Panthers was. The only reason I feel like it would take longer is if people are just trying to outbid each other towards Dan Snyder, and then Dan Snyder has so many options and it takes him longer to pick or something like that. But I'm pretty sure there are a lot of logistics things behind the scenes that I may not be aware of that may also make it go by quicker or take a little bit longer. Either way, it took the Carolina Panthers around 7 months, so that should give you somewhat of a timeline of what we can expect and how long things should take. Now, Jay-Z and Jeff Bezos. TMZ Sports came out with their own article themselves from a direct source from somewhere. You know, TMZ, man, they be having their sources somehow. And they came out and said Jay-Z and Jeff Bezos, 2 of the most successful men in America, are interested in buying the Washington Commanders in light of owner Dan Snyder's interest in selling the NFL team. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily call it interest in selling the team, but, you know, it looks like he probably actually will for real now. And TMZ was told that a partnership between the 2 men is on the table and they could go in together. And I know people are probably thinking like, why would Jeff Bezos need Jay-Z? Some people are thinking, why would Jay-Z need Jeff Bezos? But before we dive into what both of them bring to the table on each of their sides, just together, I mean, I just think it's unfair. I honestly think if both of them come together and come up with an offer, nobody can compete. I just can't see anybody else competing there. Not the Lerner family, even Byron Allen, who we're going to talk about a little later, the Clippers owner, Peyton Manning, who I actually like as a realistic option if he's able to find the money somehow. I mean, even if Jay-Z and Jeff Bezos buy the team, can we get Peyton Manning involved in some way? Because it seems like even when we were winning Super Bowls, we could do everything right, but have a franchise quarterback for 10 plus years that's out there leading us to Super Bowls and winning Super Bowls. We won 3 Super Bowls within 10 years with 3 different quarterbacks. That's unheard of. That's just one thing that the Commanders have just not been able to figure out. So please bring in Peyton Manning in some sort of capacity to help this team, at the very least the quarterback situation. But I'd be cool with him even being a GM. I don't care who ends up getting this team. Please bring Peyton Manning in as a consultant or something. I mean, nobody can compete with these guys, man, honestly. If you put those 2 together, because those are probably the 2 top candidates, and you put them together, it's kind of unfair. But this is where Jay-Z comes in, because Albert Breer tweeted out a report that there's significant doubt in league circles that Snyder would ever sell to Bezos because of his animus for the Post. Remember, Jeff Bezos owes the Washington Post, and that may play a role here. So that's why Jeff Bezos would need Jay-Z as some sort of a buffer in between the 2 guys, because they definitely hate each other. The Washington Post has been one of the main players in defaming Dan Snyder. All of those articles that was coming out, the investigations, the majority of them were coming from the Washington Post. Dan Snyder absolutely hates the Washington Post, probably more than any other organization out there doing it. Probably the Washington Post, and then maybe the FBI right now, or neck and neck right now. So Dan Snyder could be petty enough to be like, if he's not being forced to sell the team and gets to choose who buys it, he may just say no to Jeff Bezos just purely off of ego and spite and pettiness. Even if Jeff Bezos could pay him the most money, he'll probably just eat a couple of $1 billion just to be spiteful. And I can see Dan Snyder pulling some stuff like that with the personality he's shown us so far. Also, Jay-Z is already plugged into the organization. He has employees that currently work for the Washington Commanders that are former Roc Nation employees. And Jay-Z's already like met with the team and things like that when there was interest that he may try to buy the team from reports last year and things like that. So he already has somewhat of an in, whereas Jeff Bezos is just the guy that's pulling up with a bunch of money. And that's what Jeff Bezos brings to the table. I mean, you literally can't beat the money that he makes. You just can't beat it. Bezos is one of the richest people in the world, worth $114 billion. Everybody else that's even a candidate for buying the Washington Commanders combined don't even make up the net worth of Jeff Bezos. And then since he's the owner of Prime, and Prime Video has a multi-million-dollar deal, multi-year deal to broadcast and have a monopoly over Thursday Night Football, I mean, his resources and connections are endless. I mean, the Washington Commanders' new stadium will probably be the best stadium of all time for many years running with how long this man's money is and his connections and his resources again. It's not even just about money. It's the fact that he owns Amazon and how he already has an in with the NFL. And then, of course, there's conflicting interests right there. You're kind of like, how is that legal for him to be the CEO of Amazon who has media rights over Thursday Night Football, which means, like, you know, Amazon has an advantage over ESPN and CBS and all these other medias, Fox, NFL Network, and that's kind of like conflicting interests, kind of similar to why Jay-Z had to sell the Brooklyn Nets with his Roc Nation agency that he had going on. That was also conflicting interest. Well, you got to remember, Jeff Bezos did step down from being the Amazon CEO because he wanted to spend more time with his other ventures. Now, maybe this is just a long chess move to eventually own the Commanders, and you can't say, well, you're the CEO of Amazon, you know what I'm saying? So he already got that out the way. He's the founder, but he's no longer the CEO. But still, at the same time, he still has one big positive, and that's that he still has a tremendous influence over Amazon, even though he's not the CEO. So it's technically not conflicting interest legally, but he's still the largest individual shareholder in the company. He's the long-term mentor of the current CEO, and he still has a role heading the board. So, I mean, technically he's not the CEO, so I'm just not sure how that works legally. It's like he's connected to Amazon just enough to have power and influence, but not enough to where that he's not able to buy the Washington Commanders if he wants to. And again, I mean, whatever, I'm not a huge Jeff Bezos fan because I'm afraid he would make some weird changes, but the endless possibilities of our merch, and I mean, just imagine going on Amazon and with him owning the Commanders, he's going to promote the mess out of that. We're going to have the most dominant, widespread branding of a NFL team of all time, jerseys, merch in every type of way, everywhere. I mean, toothbrushes, toys, Xbox controllers. I mean, anything that you could possibly imagine is going to be Commanders. Can probably come in a Commanders brand in some way, shape, or form. Colors, logo, all of that. And then even just going on Amazon to buy something simple, there's probably going to be all kinds of Commanders propaganda and advertising all over the website everywhere you go. We will override the Cowboys as the most heavily marketed team in the NFL, at least internet-wise. I mean, who knows? It's going to be hard to replace the Cowboys as America's team anytime soon, and the way that they're covered on ESPN and things like that. But we would easily take over just marketing and advertising. We would definitely dethrone Jerry Jones right there. Commanders gear everywhere, especially digitally and online. So that sounds fun as well. Even though, again, I want Peyton Manning involved in some way, even if he doesn't buy the team. And we're going to talk about why I like Bryon a lot as well. But there's some negatives to Jeff Bezos, but there are obviously some fun positives. But that's if he doesn't come in here and ruin everything, change our name to the Amazon Primes or something, change our colors to the Amazon Prime colors, which are terrible, like boring high school textbook colors, like the ugliest, most boring shade of blue, the saddest shade of yellow, the sleepiest shade of tan. Like, as long as we don't do that, as long as he keeps the colors in the name and fully invest in the team and does everything he can to take it to another level, I see a lot of positives in Jeff Bezos being involved. But again, it seems like with Dan Snyder not feeling Jeff Bezos right now, and Jay-Z already having an end to the Commanders organization and the NFL in different ways, it seems like we're gonna need Jay-Z anyway, and I'm a fan of Jay-Z, so I'd be down. I'm not exactly sure of why some people absolutely hate the idea of Jay-Z owning the team. I mean, I just want a black owner, period. I mean, I just feel like that's fairly obvious. That's another reason why I like Bryon Allen, but we're gonna get to that a little later. Oh, one thing I didn't know is that Jay-Z, one of the connections he has over the NFL is that he signed a partnership deal in 2019 which gave him power over the halftime show, as well as social justice initiatives. So that's really interesting too, man. Jay-Z and Jeff Bezos, if they were to buy this team together, we would be the most heavily marketed and advertised and well-known and always seen franchise in NFL history. Again, I don't know if we would take over how much ESPN and NFL Network talk about us, because I think it's impossible to pass the Cowboys on that front, because it's a lot of Cowboys fans in the media. But in every other way, we would dominate. You go to Lids, you can be in North Dakota, there's probably going to be a bunch of Commanders gear that you probably can't find right now. And again, maybe Jay-Z, him being included in the deal and maybe taking over a majority of it would allow Dan Snyder to be like, well, as long as Jeff Bezos doesn't own all of it or the majority of it, I'll be fine. I mean, there's also an idea that the team could sell to the public, kind of like the Green Bay Packers did. That's really interesting as well. But I know one thing, Dan Snyder, he has to be tired of it, because one of the very few places he was able to get peace was at games, especially with fans barely showing up. Now fans are starting to show up to games, and not only is it more fans than it used to be, but he's getting booed every time. I mean, just recently, they've actually put like the camera on him during games while he's in the booth and talk negatively about him, like literally talking about all of the chaos that's going on and how he basically should sell the team from like the commentators and everything. And this just started. I mean, like Grant Paulson pointed out, it really has only happened 2 out of the last 39 games, but it's happened the last 2 out of 3 games. And if they do it again on Sunday, which they more than likely will, that will be 3 out of 4. So now he can't even go to Commanders games and find peace there. He's getting booed. He's getting chanted to sell the team and things like that everywhere he goes. While he's in his little box, little perfect seat, fans are yelling at him, literally turning around back towards the game, face towards Dan Snyder, yelling at him all throughout the game. I mean, he has to feel the pressure, man. He doesn't have time to be petty and say no to people because he doesn't like them. I don't care how much you like somebody. If Jeff Bezos can give you more money, Dan Snyder, you should probably take it. Again, I'm not necessarily saying, as Rico of Street Scores, that Jeff Bezos should be the guy that buys the team. I'm just pointing out some of the positives that he could also bring to the table, because it does have a lot of potential and it could potentially be more fun. But like I already said, I would love Peyton Manning, if he doesn't end up buying the team, at least being involved. But also, you have former TV star already reportedly putting in the bid. Byron Allen, the media mogul, is preparing a bid to buy the Washington Commanders. So it hasn't been put in yet, and we don't know exactly how much he's going to put on it, but it's on the way. And of course, this will be his second bid, because again, like I mentioned earlier, he missed out on the Denver Broncos one. And then also, very important to me, is that he will become the first black NFL owner. And I think that's huge for us, man. We've been preaching that forever, because with the head coaches and the defensive coordinators, offensive coordinators and things like that, trying to make that more black with the Rooney Rule and all that type of stuff, it's really not working. The real solution is to get some black ownership, like it is in various channels and markets and all of that type of stuff, not just the NFL. But NFL wise, we gotta get some black ownership, please. And what better the place to do it than the former Chocolate City and its market? The owner and CEO of Entertainment Studios, Allen, is working with an investor group to bid on the Commanders. Allen is seeking to become the NFL's first black owner, and his motivation to do so is evident after he placed a bid on the Denver Broncos over the summer. Ultimately, the Broncos were bought by the Walton Penner family group for $4.65 billion, a record sale for a franchise in any sport. And like I said, the Commanders are going to blow that out the water. I think it's going to be a minimum of $6 billion. I can see it end up being $7 billion. So again, if he missed out on that bid, it's not looking good for him to win the bid for the Commanders, because the Commanders are worth at least $1 more billion than the Denver Broncos. And then also, even though it's a positive that you'll have a strong say in what's going on with the new stadium and everything, but that's also a slight negative, because whatever money you use to buy the team, you're gonna have to still have some money left over to invest in a new stadium. When you buy the team, the new stadium doesn't come with it like a package deal, like a 2-for-1. Remember, the FedEx Field lease runs through 2027. After that, we have to have a new stadium to play in. And of course, it takes years to construct the stadium. So when you buy this team in 2022, you need to have a plan laid out very soon, because again, it takes years and the lease ends in 2027, within less than 5 years. But Allen's Entertainment Studios, also known as Allen Media Group, is valued at more than $4.5 billion and is the largest privately held media company in the country. So he's not Jeff Bezos, but he got a little something going. And I'm not sure if y'all know, but through his company, Allen owns the following network affiliate broadcast TV stations: ABC, NBC, CBC, Fox, as well as 24-hour TV networks and streaming services, including the Weather Channel, HBCU Go, and Comedy TV, among others. So this is another guy with a lot of connections, especially media-wise, and direct ties to the NFL already. So if I had to say the top 3 candidates right now, not necessarily who I prefer, but the most realistic and the most likely to end up buying this team, Jeff Bezos and Jay-Z and Byron Allen are easily the top 3. But again, Jeff Bezos and Jay-Z together is really unfair. That's number 1 easily. I just can't see anybody competing with that. I love Byron Allen, but I just don't see him competing with that. But another thing I love about Byron Allen is that he doesn't have any allegations or lawsuits or any type of criminal history or no type of shiesty background, nothing compared to anybody else. We already know all of the things with Jeff Bezos. Byron Allen comes in completely clean, and you know that also helps as well. Again, he doesn't have as much money as Jeff Bezos, but he still got a lot of money, man. But yeah, man, that's the end of this video. Please get in the comment section, let me know how you feel about everything discussed in this video. Please leave a like on this video if you liked it, if you learned anything. As always, man, I appreciate all of the support, man. Shouts out to all of my sponsors, especially my Pro Bowl sponsors' names you see scrolling on the screen right now. Definitely get in the comment section, let me know how you feel about Jeff Bezos, Jay-Z, and Byron Allen. Positives and negatives for all of them, and who do you prefer the most, and how do you feel about Jeff Bezos and Jay-Z teaming up, man? And also, man, I appreciate all the support, and I'll catch y'all later. I'm out.